I've known Dave a long time, and a couple of things I just learned is he must really have liked me because he never asked me to play darts with him. And I never drank a goofy before, but maybe later. I thank you, Dale, for having me. And I was thinking about Dave, and I think about the Dave that I knew, a little bit different than the guy you grew up with. But, you know, I started thinking about this place, and I remember we came here when we first moved here with you. And I think about God's predetermined plan for our life. That we don't see it sometimes, but you look in the rearview mirror and things become pretty clear. And I look back and I think about Dave, and I say that he was destined to enter into our lives in a very strange way, but for good reasons. You know, and I think about some of Dave's qualities, and I'd say, Dave Higson was a clever guy. And if you look inside of the pamphlet that you get, they talk about his chocolate chip cookies. And Dave was pretty good at baking chocolate chip cookies, and he used them as bait. And we didn't really know that, but they turned out to be very expensive chocolate chip cookies. You see, 15 years ago or so, my wife had finally finished badgering me for about 20 years and forced me to move to San Diego. And we thought we'd live out by the beach, and we didn't really know what was in store for us. But this predetermined plan thing, we happened to get the Sunday newspaper and look into open houses, and there was one in Poway. And we didn't know anything about Poway. We had no intention of living in the burbs. We were going to the beach. And we said, well, they have good schools. And we had a little one that was going to go to Painted Rock eventually. And we said, well, let's go to Poway. Maybe we can meet some realtors and learn a little bit about the burbs. So you know, our plans got changed because of Dave's chocolate chip cookies. We found this home. Actually, it was about 2 blocks from here. It was in Green Valley. And I remember Debbie and I were walking up the stairs and looking, going, nah, this isn't it, but, you know, maybe we can get educated. And so we walk in, and the house didn't have a stitch of furniture in it. And it was the strangest thing. It has like a little bridge that you walk in. There's a koi pond underneath it. And they don't have these in Boston. But anyway, it smelled like chocolate chip cookies. It smelled so good. And it's the perfect bait for me. So we walk out in the kitchen, and here's Dave Higson sliding the tray out. You know, he probably had planned, next time you hear the door, slide the tray out. And hook, line, and sinker, we fell for this thing. And Dale, being the pleasant one, she grabs my wife and says, well, why don't we go look around the house? And I said, well, you guys, I'm going to, you know, Dave and I. So we started eating cookies. And Dave said, you know, who are you and what do you want? And I said, well, okay. Let me tell you, Dave. And I said, well, this isn't what we want. He goes, what do you want? I said, well, I have a long list. He said, did you bring it with you? I said, yeah. He goes, so you wrote it down? Yeah. Well, where is it? I said, well, it's right here. And he goes, pull it out. So Dave grabs my list and goes, yeah, 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 mm-hmm, yep, yep, yeah. We got all that. I said, not here you don't. And he said, let's have another cookie. A very expensive cookie. And he started to educate me on Poway. And he said, what does your wife really want? I said, well, she wants to be in a warm environment. She wants sunshine like 12 months a year. He goes, well, you don't want to live by the beach. I said, well, why not? He goes, no, no, no. He said, when you go with those fancy realtors out there by the beach in a couple of days, ask them about May Gray and watch their face change. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, that's like June gloom to them. He goes, your wife won't put up with that stuff. And I went, okay. And I said, well, what are you telling me? He said, well, you need to live where we live. I said, where do you live? He goes, Bridalwood. I said, well, what's that? He goes, everything on your list. Well, okay. And he said, you can't get in without a gate code. A fancy. I'm like, all right. He goes, here's the gate code. He goes, when your wife gets back, go to Bridalwood. Come back and buy a house. So my wife and Dale come walking back into the kitchen, and my wife looks at me and goes, we should live where they live. And I said, honey, I got the code, let's go. So we went to Bridalwood, and we drove in, and it was like, man, look at this place. I'm checking the boxes on my list as I'm driving down the street, and one of the things that my wife was concerned about was families. And a lot of those families are here in this audience right now. And there were kids in the neighborhood, and the bus would come in and pick you guys up. And it turns out that it took a little while to get a house, but Dale stays up till like 4 in the morning sending emails. A year and a half later, we bought a house 3 doors away from them. And it was wonderful. So we became neighbors, and we also became friends with the Higsons. And Dave and Dale were really good neighbors and good friends. And they took us to fancy restaurants. We went to Pat and Oscar's. Dave says, I know a guy, and we get a discount. And we went, I don't remember the name of the boat, but it was like the SS Minnow that you guys had. We went out in the boat. It was about the slowest boat I ever went on. Dave loved it. Captain Dave, we went out and we toured the harbor, and we just had a great time. And Dave was a fun guy. Dave, he was that guy, and it's kind of easy to have friends when, life's going good and everything goes right for you. But, life isn't always easy. And we found that out, because when things get hard, that's kind of when you find out who your friends really are. And, somebody said the true measure of a person isn't that person who's around you when things are easy, but that one that's around you when things get tough. And I found out that Dave Higson's also a compassionate guy. Because Dave and Dale were there when, we had problems in our family, we had tragedy, and I kind of wished I wasn't there. I wished I was back home. And Dave said, well, you know what? We'll help you get through this. Very matter-of-factly. And he did. With you, Dale. But the Higson family, they provided meals for us. They took care of our daughter. Dave remarked that it was kind of nice to have a girl in the house. Much as he enjoyed the camaraderie of all these boys, he thought it was pretty cool. And, that I'll always remember Dave and Dale for that. But, Dave turned out that Dave was really a good neighbor, too. And Dave was involved with our HOA and always willing to lend a hand when you needed it. Dave was known as the gate guy for many, many years. He took to make sure that they swung open and swung closed. And he could handle that. He also was a good recruiter. He got me involved in the HOA. He said, you're not doing anything, come to a meeting, And what he didn't tell me was, it's kind of like the version of the Poway Mafia. Once you get in, you can't get out. And, nobody would say no to Dave. So when he said, hey, I've had enough of this stuff, I'm stuck. And everybody knows Dave Higson was a good dad. And very proud of his family, and rightfully so. There's no easy task to raise 4 boys. And it's, I just know how grateful he was to having a good family, and that how proud he was of you guys. I know he was a little more grateful, a little more proud when he found a bar stool at the barrel room, and he could sit there with a glass of wine and go, my kids did all this. He was really proud of your success. And I think we all know Dave's a good husband. For those of you who know Dave, he wasn't really the chatty type, but Dale took care of that for him. Dave was okay with that. These two, they made a good team, in business and in life, and he loved and respected you, and that's the foundation for a good marriage. So when I think about Dave being destined in our lives, and that plan, I look through the rearview mirror and I see that Dave led by example, and I'd say Dave was clever, and Dave was fun, and he was compassionate, Dave was a good neighbor. He was a good dad. He was a good husband. And he was a good friend. God bless Dave Higson.